Ladies and gentlemen, we are here for the first ever episode of the Dual Threat Podcast. We've been putting this in the works for a while now. It is me, your host, number one, Caden Kubler of Caden's Corner, and host number two, Guru Griff. Griff, how's it going, man? We are very excited about this one.
It's beautiful times. We have a college football playoffs. It's a beautiful Wednesday. We've been talking about doing this podcast. It's a beautiful time. I'm super excited to be here.
Very excited as well, man. We've been talking about this for a little bit now. We've been going live on TikTok. Now, finally, here we are in person. Great to see you. You know, I get to see you on screen, but now seeing you in person, it's nice, man. It's nice. I'm excited to kick this off. Obviously, a lot has happened in the college football world as we approach the college football playoff. In about 9 days here, we get Alabama versus Oklahoma. Let me ask you this first. What is your initial thought when you look at this college football bracket? Obviously, a lot of controversy. We'll dive into all of that, but what is your initial thoughts when you look at this college football playoff bracket?
You know what's funny, Caden? Back in the day when they did 2, I was like, okay, they got to expand it. Then they expanded it to 4. Then I'm like, okay, they're probably going to expand it to maybe 8. Then they blew it up to 12. And I was thinking, there's no way in any galaxy that I'm going to be thinking that 13, 14, 15 deserve a chance. I mean, those are going to be absolute bums and bozos. And then now I'm thinking 12 might not be enough. We might need to expand it to 16. You got teams like Vanderbilt who didn't get in, Texas, BYU. So a lot of those teams, listen, I'm not sitting here saying that those teams are going to win a national championship, but I mean, hey, you throw Texas versus Ole Miss together. Yeah. I mean, that's a good game right there. That's definitely a good game right there. So the 12, it definitely had some controversy in it, and we'll get into it. But no, it's weird to thinking that when last year when they expanded it to 12, I was like, 12 might be too much. Yeah. Now I'm thinking to myself, man, we might need 16.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you because Ohio State was the 8 seed last year, and if they didn't make that expansion, obviously they lose to Michigan final game of the season, and then they get on that crazy run. But if they don't make that expansion, you're looking at a college football playoff that doesn't have the champion from last year. So I'm in agreement with you. I think realistically, a lot of people think that Notre Dame is one of the better teams in the country. They didn't make it. A lot of controversy around that. To your point, BYU had one loss in the regular season, but then they lose to Texas Tech again. And they said that Texas Tech's the number 1 team in the country, so that they should realistically be. And a lot of teams had a pretty good resume, in my opinion, and a good shot to get in. I'm in agreement with you. I think the committee did the right thing by putting in Miami over Notre Dame. We'll dive into that a little bit here. Let's first of all talk about the games that we saw last weekend. We'll start with the Big Ten Championship. Obviously, the best game of the day, number 1 versus number 2. We saw Ohio State fall to Indiana. Indiana turns it around in 2 years. What an unbelievable turnaround. Give me your thoughts about that game, what you see from this Indiana team now. Can they go on to win the national championship? Ohio State, can we see a bounce back from them? Give me everything from the Big Ten Championship.
Listen, Caden, Indiana blew me away this year. No pause. Indiana, you were amazing this year. I thought you were just a Cinderella story. I thought you were going to fold against Oregon. You didn't. I thought you were going to fold even when Penn State was bad. I thought you were going to fold against Penn State. You didn't. And then the big bad wolf in Ohio State, Big Ten Championship, I thought you were going to fold and you didn't. Your wide receiver goes out. One of the best wide receivers for Indiana goes out early in that game. Mendoza gets absolutely clobbered. I thought it was over. Yeah. The way he was on the floor, Caden, I thought he was done. Yeah. I thought broken collarbone, he's absolutely done. This dude takes his lickings, gets up and says, I want more. This dude is an absolute dog. The defense has impressed me on both sides. Ohio State and Indiana's defenses impressed me, but Mendoza made the throws late and Sayin didn't. I feel like Ohio State, they played a little soft in the second half offensively. You know what I mean? Yeah. They didn't open up the playbook. They said, you know what, we're going to go for it. Sayin didn't really show out in that second half. Good game, don't get me wrong. But Mendoza not only won the Big Ten championship, he damn near solidified himself as a Heisman winner.
Agree. Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you. This was like the Heisman matchup. Julian Sayin, a guy that has blown away college football with his unbelievable completion percentage. But I was always wondering, what is he going to look like in the big moments? And I saw him against Michigan, and he played at a really high level in that game. Because you look at Carnell Tate and you look at Julian Sayin, you look at this unbelievable defense, and you're sitting to yourself saying, is Sayin the guy? Is he one of the best quarterbacks in the country? And that was what I wanted to figure out in that Michigan Michigan game. And I felt that I did figure that out. But then I looked to the Big Ten championship, whether it was him stumbling up short on that 4th and 1, them not picking it up, and even them missing that field goal. Like, to your point, it felt very laid back in the second half. They almost were coaching as if they didn't want to lose the game. They weren't coaching to win the game. And I understand why people are maybe hitting the panic button a little bit on Ohio State. But on the other hand, Griff, I know you broke down Indiana in a great way. I'm still really high on Ohio State. I feel like this is the loss that they needed, similar to Michigan last year when they lost to Michigan. Everyone was saying it was over for them. They make it in, they go on this crazy run, and they blow everyone out. This is still the best defense in college football. You've still got 2 of the best receivers in college football in Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Julian Sayin, I believe, is still one of the better quarterbacks in the nation. I feel like this Ohio State team is going to be just fine. Do you still believe that they should be the favorite to win it all, or are you kind of giving Indiana the edge over them right now?
I would personally give Indiana over the edge because just the head-to-head matchup of the win, but not by a lot. Yeah. Ohio State can easily win the national championship. The road is, we're going to get into it in a little bit later. The road is harder, in my opinion, than Indiana's, but their defense is still rock solid. Their defense is still amazing. The wide receivers are still amazing. If they played again, I would say it's a 50-50 shot. But yeah, Ohio State can not easily win the national championship. But going into that game against Indiana, I was going to say if Ohio State blew out Indiana, Caden, I was going to say this playoff is not going to be that exciting. Yeah. Ohio State's just going to roll through everyone, just hand them the back-to-back trophies. But now that they took that loss, they did take a loss against Michigan, and it helped them out last year. We'll see come playoff time, because they did get the first round bye, if it helps them out this year.
Yeah. And I feel like people are maybe going to be upset with me that I'm still picking Ohio State over Indiana, or still think they're the better team. Listen, I know Indiana played great, and to your point, they battled the adversity. Mendoza played at an unbelievable level after getting leveled on the first play of the game. They took no time to absolutely drill that dude, and he got back up. He kept playing at a really high level, and that's what the great quarterbacks have to do. And I can guarantee you this, the NFL scouts were loving what they saw from Fernando Mendoza, the toughness that he showed, his poise. He played at an unbelievable level. But the way I'm looking at Ohio State, I feel like this was more of Ohio State losing this game versus Indiana coming in there and winning it. I feel like Ohio State should have had that game. They got into the red zone, I believe, 4 or 5 different times and only scored a touchdown once. Listen, they're going to clean that up. And I firmly believe that. I still firmly believe that this is the best team in the country. But to your point, we get a lot of parity in this college football scene this year. It's like, I think there's a lot of teams right now that, even if like an Oregon got super hot, it wouldn't shock me if they made it to the national championship. There's a lot of teams this year that I think can go on a run and can get really scary.
A lot of good teams. I will say I have to disagree with you on a lot of the teams. You know what I mean? Because I think there's like 4 who can get in. Okay. But no, Ohio State, they just weren't there in the second half offensively. It's like they almost played a little too scared. Yeah. And you got to let it rip. You know what I mean? You got to let it rip. And I know Indiana's got a good defense, but I mean, hey, that's in the past. And then if they meet up again, it's all about that game.
Yeah. If they met up again, it would be in the national championship.
Where is the national championship this year?
Put me on the spot here.
It might be in Miami.
Let me pull this bad boy. I feel like Miami's got a game every single year that is there. It's going to be in Miami.
Gotcha.
Guru Griff.
Up here.
That's how he's the guru, folks.
Yes, I believe the Ohio State, that semifinal is going to be here in Arizona. The Fiesta, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be
if they get there. If they have to win their game.
Yeah, Ohio State and Georgia only got to win one game each, and then they're there. So yeah, we see Ohio State, Indiana with that 1 and 2 seed. If they play each other again, it'll be in the national championship. But let's jump to the SEC championship. Unlike the Big Ten championship, this was a blowout. This was an absolute stinker. Georgia looks really freaking good right now. They look so good. And are we surprised? Kirby Smart does this at a professional level. This is now 3 out of the last 4 years that they've won the SEC championship in what a lot of people deemed as a transition year for Georgia. They're still winning. They're still here. Gunnar Stockton, their quarterback, still playing at an unbelievable level. I've been blown away by what I've seen with Georgia, and I can't really say I'm surprised. I've been trying to warn a lot of people about Georgia, and everyone's like, I can't get all in on them yet. I've been really, really impressed. Where are you at with Georgia? What did you see in the SEC championship? And are you slapping that panic button on Alabama?
I'm hammering the Alabama panic button, but really? let's talk about the better team in Georgia winning the SEC championship game. To me, the odds were crazy. How was this so close? I understand that Kirby Smart poops his pants against Alabama a lot of the times,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But if you were watching Alabama these past couple weeks, if Auburn caught a couple passes, they would have beaten Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama has not looked good. To me, they're limping into the playoffs, and Georgia has been stomping teams. We talked about this a little bit early on a live. The Georgia Tech game. Georgia played Georgia Tech. That was super vanilla by Georgia. That game meant nothing to them. If they lost, who cares? They were still playing an SEC championship game. If they won, who cares? I think that they played that game super vanilla. And then when they played Alabama, they beat the brakes off them. I think Alabama rushed for -3 yards. No, Georgia, Caden, right now, they can win the national championship, and I would not bat an eye. They're that good.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And it seems like they're peaking at the right time. I mean, you always talk about this, who's getting hot at the right moment. And for Georgia, they have been red hot. They've been scolding. They beat a really good Texas team by 3 touchdowns plus earlier in the season. They only lost 1 game in the regular season, and that was to Alabama. But if you go back and look at that second half, there was like a drop touchdown. So many different times that they shot themselves in the foot, and they should have realistically won that game. And I think they would have a serious case to be the number 1 seed right now if they didn't lose to Alabama with all the ranked wins that they have. So nobody's shocked that Georgia is this good right now as we get into the postseason, as we get into this playoff bracket. Where are you at with these buys? Because teams that went or that had that first round bye last year, they were 0-4. And so now we're looking at Ohio State, we're looking at Georgia, we're looking at Indiana and Texas Tech. Do you feel like that's a little bit of a concern? And if this kind of trails over again, do we need to maybe tweak that a little bit in terms of the bye or how much time is off for these squads?
Absolutely no concern, Caden, because if you look back last year, it was different. ASU played Texas, or ASU played Texas. We're ASU guys. We wanted ASU to win, but I mean, ASU, let's be honest, they weren't the cream of the crop. Boise State played Penn State. Boise State, let's be honest, they got the first round bye. They're not the cream of the crop. If you stop that run with Genty, you could handle them. Penn State won. I believe, was it Georgia who played Indiana or Notre Dame?
Yeah.
So Georgia played Notre Dame, and Georgia, their quarterback got hurt. So their backup quarterback, who's there right now,
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of factors that who was the other, and then Ohio State played Oregon. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a little bit different this year, Caden, because Georgia, they're on fire. Ohio State, even though they lost Indiana, they're on fire. Indiana is on fire. Texas Tech, now I will say, out of all of the seeds that the higher seeds, I would worry about Texas Tech more.
I agree.
But I just think it's a little bit different than last year to this year, because I know they changed the format a little bit up as well.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. When I look at this top side of the bracket right here, it seems like this is the path. And last year, that was the path in the bottom side of the bracket when we saw Notre Dame go on a run and they beat, to your point, a Georgia
Indiana,
team. Yeah, they beat Indiana at first, and then they beat a Georgia team without Carson Beck, and then they beat Penn State by a really last-second interception that
it was a good game.
Yeah, it was a great game. But I look at this top side of the bracket and think, man, outside of Indiana, I just there's question marks around a lot of the other teams. And when I go to the bottom side, it's like, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Texas A&M got super hot with how good that defense is, and Marcel Reed makes some plays. I could see them going on a run here, and even with Ohio State and Georgia, this seems to be the side of the bracket that gets really tough. Even Ole Miss, they played Georgia tough earlier on in the season, and I understand that Lane Kiffin's not going to be there, but they still have Charlie Weiss, their play caller. This offense is still going to be humming like an absolute bird, and so I feel like with them not getting that first round bye, if it kind of trickles over with what we saw last year with the teams getting the first round buys, losing, maybe Ole Miss gets hot and makes it to the championship. I wouldn't be shocked. I feel like the top side is way easier than the bottom side.
Top side's way easier than the bottom side, but I'm telling you right now, Caden, I don't think those first round teams.
You don't think so?
I think Texas Tech is the only one that's going to lose. Maybe this bites back.
Yeah.
Maybe you clip this a little later on. Ohio State loses. I look like a fool, but. You could paint them out to whatever you want to be, but I think Georgia's hot right now. Ohio State's hot right now. Indiana's them, and Texas Tech. Now we'll get into it a little bit later, but I mean it's either Oregon or JMU. You know what I mean? We'll probably think it's going to be Oregon, but Texas Tech, they got a really good defense over there. I think those first. Now, I mean, if they expand it to 16, I know we're in conspiracy theories by next year. It's gonna be interesting, but I think those teams that have the buys, they're the best teams.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Without a doubt, the top 4 teams. Let's go to the Big 12 championship here. Texas Tech dominates BYU again. It was a really similar story to how this game played out the first time. It was kind of close in the first half. You felt like BYU, maybe if they could make a play or two, had a shot, and then the second half opens up, and it was like Texas Tech was a bat out of hell. I mean, they were unbelievable. The defense was making plays, the mustache duo, the linebackers, they were getting after Bear Brockmeyer. This was just a dominant performance. And I know everybody talks about the SEC and everybody talks about the Big Ten and the types of teams that they have. And you look at the Big 12 and it's definitely a step down. The Big 12 is like that tier B, and then the ACC is definitely the tier C. I don't know how to 100% feel about Texas Tech. Like, I think they're a good team, but I don't know if they're Oregon or if they're Ohio State or if they're Georgia. Where are you at with that after watching the Big 12 championship?
I'm at 100% talking about that Big 12 championship. First of all, BYU's quarterback, number 47, that's a wild number for a quarterback. Yeah. That is a wild number for a quarterback. And then at the late in the third quarter, the beginning of the fourth, they had 50 turnovers. Yeah. You know, I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. The defense is flying around for Texas Tech, and defenses can take you far in any championship factor. But yeah, I agree. I think Texas Tech is definitely, I wouldn't say the little brother, but I mean, Texas Tech versus Ohio. I don't know if there's any future odds out there right now, but I mean, Texas Tech versus Oregon, and I know we're writing off JMU, you know what I mean? But Texas Tech versus Oregon, what do you think that line would be at? 1?
I would say it's close to a pick.
Yeah,
maybe Texas Tech by 2.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
It's close,
but because it's at a neutral site too. It's not like Texas Tech has home field advantage. But I mean, Tech versus Georgia, they'd be a dog. Tech versus Indiana would be a dog. Tech versus Ohio State. Tech's a good team, and hopefully they go on this magical run. But I agree with you. Tech is definitely a tier lower than those other big guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I just feel like. And I'm not trying to have like this implicit bias, but I feel like I have to because I haven't seen them really play anyone great. I mean, the Big 12, they've only got one team in. And you look at the SEC, they've got 5 teams in.
50 teams.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they've got every single team in there. And they still should have a case to get some other squads in, whether it's Vanderbilt or maybe even Texas, and we'll get into that. But then you look at the Big 10, they've got 3 teams in, but 3 of those teams are in the top 5. So you've really got your cream of the crop in college football that reside in the Big 10 and that reside in the SEC. I feel like Texas Tech's got to prove it to me, but yet they've still got a great defense. We all understand that. Can they make enough plays to slow down some of these high-flying offenses? Do we want to dive into just the dirty ACC championship? Because that was dirty.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. There's not much to dive in. Virginia, you pooped your pants on national television. Virginia, get yourself a Chuck E. Cheese application, hit the bricks, losing at the crib, right?
Yeah.
At the crib to Duke. When you have this magic comeback, and then overtime, Duke drives all the way down, gets on the 1 yard line. Gutsy by them for going on that 4th down call. Gutsy by them. But I mean, hey, they're 7-5. They got nothing to lose. And then Virginia gets the ball back, double pass interception with the playoff on the line, Caden. It's not like it was like, oh, let's win the ACC and we're going to go home. No, this was the playoff on the line, ACC championship and the playoff on the line. Double reverse trick pass interception. Virginia, you don't deserve to be in there. Bums.
I can't even believe it. And this is what drives me the most nuts is like we're looking at this playoff bracket and it's like you've got JMU and you've got Tulane both in the playoff. And it's like, I mean, these are both like 2 like Make-A-Wish games. It's like, okay, hopefully the Cinderella can go on a run, but it's like, this isn't March Madness. Nope. We saw this with Cincinnati a few years ago and they just got beat down by Alabama. And the difference is, they had NFL talent. Their quarterback played in the NFL. They had Sauce Gardner. They had guys. Alec Pierce. They had guys. Neither one of these 2 teams, they stink.
I don't know one player on them.
I know Jake Retzloff.
Shout out JMU. Shout out Tulane. But I mean, let's be honest.
I know that both of these teams are losing their head coaches. Yeah, I know that they're both losing their coaches.
I believe they are allowed to coach, right?
Yeah, they are.
Just they're both, Kiffin, Ole Miss. Yeah, it's like thing. Yeah,
you know that these teams get an opportunity that they want to seize the moment, but. Yeah, Griff, it kind of drives me nuts that both of these teams are in there. And I understand, you know, that's the razzmatazz behind college sports. Like you get that potential team that can go on a Cinderella run. But I look at both of these teams, I'm like, man, that absolutely drives me nuts. For the ACC, what an abomination. Like to not have a conference champion in there, and I understand that Miami made it, but to not have a conference championship winner in there is so terrible. If you're Virginia, how do you lose that game against Duke, a team that had 5 losses?
5 losses.
5 losses.
5.
5 of those bad boys. And they won a conference championship that's a Power 4.
They're considered a champion.
That is ludicrous to me. I mean, I know we can all look at the college football playoff committee and say like, man, they've got a lot of unsolved business on their hands, but it's like, I don't even know what you do when you're looking at all this stuff. When you got two Mickey Mouse teams that make the playoff, but it's like, I guess it makes sense with the logic because you can't let a 5-loss team in the playoff. I mean, that would cause even more outrage, but I think they definitely need to revise that. If you're Notre Dame, why not join the ACC? I know there's been a lot, and that's going to lead us into our next part here. Why not join the ACC? If it's that bad, you can absolutely mollywop your way to the playoff. There'd be no questions about it. What are your overall thoughts around Notre Dame? Because the block is hot.
Let's talk about the ACC. Okay. Now, I will 100% agree with you. I've been hearing that Notre Dame makes more money than the ACC combined. They make trillions and billions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's one factor. Then the AD is coming out and saying that they had like a smear campaign. Like the ACC tried to smear Notre Dame. Notre Dame went to their local Costco and had a car washed, and the ACC drove by and made fun of them. You know what I mean? I don't know what the hell that smear campaign was. But
it's like the people driving by Tim Walz's house.
Yes. But I've heard both sides.
Yeah.
Join a conference, and then but what conference do you think they would join?
It has to be the ACC, even though they said that the relationship's ruined. I mean, how do you join? And I don't think the Big Ten's going to let them join. I don't think the SEC is going to let them join. I feel like there's a higher likelihood that they're just going to stay independent.
Yeah, they'll stay.
But the ACC makes so much sense for them.
Well, did you see that weird now pseudo clause that they have in the thing where it's like, oh, hey, but next year if we're ranked in the AP top 13 and we're not in, we're automatically in. And I'm like, what kind of weird backwards shiftiness did you have to go through with that one? That one was very strange.
Well, it's like, why are certain teams getting special clauses? Oh, you're Notre Dame because you're the Fighting Irish. You automatically deserve a playoff spot. It's like, well, actually, they only had one ranked win this season over a team that's currently inside of the top 25. If they weren't in the national championship last year, they would be nowhere close to making the playoff, Griff. And the fact that people are going to sit here and say that Notre Dame deserved to be in over Miami, it's asinine. You lost to that team. Beat them. And then you're in.
Yeah.
Or schedule more ranked opponents. Schedule a harder schedule. Don't just say, oh, we had a dominant run. It's like, no, you didn't. You beat one good team this year. One team outside of the top 15.
Yeah.
What are we doing
here? It comes down to it. You lost to Miami.
Yeah.
Head-to-head matters. You lost to Miami. Is Notre Dame a good team? Yes. We're not saying that Notre Dame is a garbage team. We're not saying that Notre Dame has a bunch of bums on the team. Yeah. We're just saying when it comes down to it, to the nitty-gritty, you're not in a conference, so you can't be an at-large bid of those five. You're not in a conference. And if you lost to a team who has got the exact same record, they should be over you. It's kind of very elementary where, listen, I get it, the Notre Dame fans sit there and say, well, if Notre Dame was against Miami right now, who would be favored? But guess what? We're not in the what-if game. No. We got the game in week one. It was week one, but we got the game, and they ended up losing that game. And I'm glad the committee got it right. Yeah. I will say I am on Notre Dame's side where the committee should have had Miami in over at the get. Like this 5 weeks things where they had Notre Dame ahead of Miami the entire time. And then at the last second, they did the switcheroo. That might be, I understand Notre Dame fans. You're definitely pissed at that. But they got the right team in. They beat you in over head to head. And it's a tough situation. But like you said, if you join a conference and win that, John, you're in.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I definitely think the committee shouldn't have made it something where they put Miami below Notre Dame for multiple weeks. Everyone's sitting here saying that the inevitable is coming. We all knew it was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. It's like, hey, both of these teams are probably going to win out. They're both going to be 10-2. They're both going to have 2 losses, but at the end of the day, they played the head-to-head, and we know who's better. Why is the committee doing this right now? And if there's some switcheroo, Notre Dame is going to be so upset. Their athletic director went on McAfee before and was, you know how everyone kind of does their like political campaigns, almost like, hey, we deserve to be in because of this. And BYU is doing it after they lost to Texas Tech. They went on Twitter. They're like, well, yeah, if you actually add this up, you know, we lost twice here. It's like, yeah, we deserve to be in the playoff. It's like, okay, well, you know, you don't. But regardless, I agree with you. They shouldn't have put Miami below them if they were just going to switch it right afterwards when it really mattered the most. Like, people don't really care about the rankings as much. They just want to see the logic. And the logic, it seems like, is not sound. It's never just the same. I hated that they're opting out of the bowl game. I think it's such a weak move.
Weenie.
Georgia a few years ago when Florida State didn't make it, Georgia was like the 6th seed, and they got robbed. I think you could make a serious case that they got robbed and didn't make it. Weren't they like undefeated? Or maybe
it was Florida State who was undefeated.
Yeah, but what was Georgia? Georgia
was like one loss. I think Georgia had maybe had one loss.
And it was like a really good loss.
It was an amazing loss. Yeah, might have been Alabama.
I'm trying to go back and backtrack to it, and I'm sorry for not knowing this off the spot, but I remember that a lot of Georgia fans, and I remember talking about this with my dad, like, hey, everyone's mad that Florida State didn't make it, but Georgia had a legitimate shot to make it too. And they played and they won like 63-3. And I know that Florida State had a lot of their guys go on, whatever.
Yeah, they played in the bowl game.
Play the bowl game. It's tradition. This is what college football is about. Also, how sad is it to know that you played your last game ever if you're a senior and you don't have another chance to strap those pads on? And more importantly, put down real film, NFL tape. You're trying to go pro. Let these guys get another crack at it. Why do you think that it is so important that the world revolves around you, that no, we're going to pout and we're going to decline doing a bowl? I think that is so weak.
It's soft, ultra Charmin soft. Listen, I saw the same clips as you. The AD gets on. I was watching a Barstool morning show, and he gets on and he says, "Listen, I got with the head coach and we met with the captains. We met with the senior leaders, because if you guys don't know sports, I mean, senior leader or the captains are usually the senior leaders of the team." And they decided that, hey, since Love and a couple of these other guys are not going to be on the team, we're going to not play. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, hold the phone, Caden. If your leaders are that bad, that is a terrible leader. I don't want that to be, because like you said, there's a freshman on the team who busted his ass all season on the practice squad just to put on that gold helmet to play one kickoff, to play one kick return. And this is his chance. Maybe the second and third strings busted their ass all year. And then some senior captains decide that, hey, I'm either going to graduate or I'm going to go to the NFL. And a couple, like, what did you think, 15 guys would have opted out?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to play. Listen, that's coming from the AD. The AD said that the senior leader, the captains, came and decided that thing. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what kind of leaders are those?
Yeah.
You know, if I was a freshman, there's a guy called Rudy. Go watch the movie. He was at Notre Dame. We could be literally getting a Rudy story that he busted his ass all season. Yeah. And then some senior leaders went to Chompies in the morning and decided, hey, a couple guys aren't going to play, so let's not play. No, that is absolutely asinine. I'd be pissed if I was a freshman, sophomore, senior, never going to put on pads again. You could have had one more opportunity. And Kate, in these bowl games, you know how much free you get? I know this is like a sidebar thing, but I mean, I watched some other guy, NFL guy. He's pretty famous. He's the Browns guy. He's been shopping around the thing, but he's like, oh, the bowl games don't matter. I got a recliner chair one time and I don't give it. I'm like, dude, a freshman could have get a recliner chair and give it to his dad for Christmas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sick.
Listen, not everyone has all these buco bucks, and I'm not saying he has buco bucks, but no, I saw that and I was just like, dude, and those freshmen, they could get out there and play and be like, hey, listen, I want to prove to myself that I want to be on this team next year. I could prove to my coaches, my family, or I know we're in the NIL era, I could prove to ASU. Maybe ASU sees me in that bowl game and is like, hey, that's a really good linebacker. Let's go give him a call. And then the coaching wise, Caden, how do you not want to coach your young players to come up? The ASU coach said the same thing. I saw him in an interview and he's like, dude, I am fired up for this bowl game. I am fired up to see where my team is at. I want to see who's going to be here next year. I'm fired up. And I haven't heard one word from the Notre Dame coaches.
No.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how do you not have that vibe? I don't know. I went on a little tangent right there, but I mean, it just blows my mind.
Valid.
I get it. It's the Pop-Tart Bowl. Hey, the Pop-Tart, that's no shade on the Pop-Tart Bowl. They probably would have played BYU. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just see that, and I just see, man, those opportunities that those young freshmen, sophomores, they just get it taken away because the leaders, those are supposed to be leaders of those men. Yeah. And they just said, nah, I don't know. That's just what the AD made it seem like. Maybe it was a complete fugazi lie that the AD said, but when I was hearing the AD say that, I'm like, those seniors decided that? I don't know. That was weird.
Yeah, I agree with you. The tangent, totally valid. I feel like regardless of what the leadership decided on, these guys get like 25 practices or something. Like, not only it's just putting the tape down, not only is it just being with your guys longer, making NFL moments, like, you are developing with 25 practices. That's just, you're not just punting that time away. Like, that's valuable time, regardless of if you're seniors or not. Marcus Freeman, I almost just called him Morgan Freeman. Marcus Freeman is going to have a lot of younger guys that are now going to be thrust into the role, and you want to develop those guys. Now you're just saying, no, we don't want to do this. We're not going to do the bowl game because we think we got screwed by the committee. I'm sorry. I think that's really dumb. I have one of my buddies that I grew up with who's an offensive lineman for UCLA. Shout out Utaka Mahe. He was telling me, because he's been playing in and out this season, he was telling me, yeah, a lot of these guys, a lot of these seniors, these reps are so important for them. And whether it's splitting time, because he was splitting time with some guys this year, he's like, a lot of guys are just trying to put film, or are trying to get film out there right now. And it's so important for every single one of them to get that film for these NFL scouts, because it is so valuable. And if you get an entire game missing out on for maybe guys that don't play as much, maybe guys that are seniors and the seniors in front of them are going to opt out because they're already a first round pick, why don't you give those guys a shot to put that tape on there, improve their draft stock? Like, I think it's just such an abomination to the sport. I think it's like, hey, you won 10 football games. Do this for the sport. This is what the sport of college football is. Because a lot of people were coming after me like, oh, Florida State also opted out, and Iowa State. Well, first of all, Iowa State lost their head coach.
A bunch of these teams, Kate. I've heard of like, oh, you're not talking about these other teams. And I'm like, okay, but I mean, all these other teams lost all of their coaches, lost their coordinators, and they were buns. Yeah. Notre Dame 10-win team, and the coach is still there.
Yeah, we don't want to see, like, no offense, Iowa State. What are they? 8-4, 7-5. They lost their head coach. We don't care about a 7-win team as much as we do a 10-win team. Also, you're Notre Dame. You're a blue blood. You're one of the biggest programs in the sport. Play the dang game. It looks very spoiled. I absolutely hate it. And I feel so bad for all of those guys that aren't going to get that extra tape, that aren't going to see the field for what it's going to be their last ever game.
Yep.
Absolutely devastating. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and we will be back in a quick minute. Okay, so like we talked about earlier, 2 group of 5 teams in there, JMU and Tulane. I believe both of the spreads right now are like higher than 17. I
believe it's like 21 or 22 and then like 18.
Just ridiculous. Yeah. And the bummer was last year in the first round of the playoff, it felt like every single game was a massive blowout. Like, I don't think there was one close game in the playoff in the first round. There was no close game in the first round of the playoff last year. They were all just absolute whoopings. So hopefully, I'm more optimistic this year when you look at Oklahoma, Alabama versus the other 2 games. I'm more optimistic in terms of the other 2 games that it's going to be a little closer. Where are you at with the group of 5 thing? Because I've been rubbed wrong I've been rubbed wrong the entire way when it comes to the group of 5 stuff. It's whack. I don't like it.
It's tough, but it's like it's in the rule book. It's so like they put it in there. Earlier we talked about Virginia or Duke getting in. Like, I am glad JMU got in over Duke because they would take 5 conference champions or whatever. It's in the rules. It does suck because when you get down to the nitty gritty and you're like, okay, is JMU and Tulane better than Texas? No. Are they better than Vandy? No. Are they better than BYU? No. Like, who else is trying to get in? I think those were like the main teams.
Yeah, the main. Yeah.
Are they better than Notre Dame? Notre Dame didn't get in? No. But I mean, hey, the college football wrote it in there, and they got to abide by it. You know what I mean? It sucks to suck, but I mean, shout out JMU and shout out Tulane. Yeah. They're getting in, but I mean, I think it's going to be rough.
Yeah, I do too. And it goes back to like the whole like Cinderella thing. It's cool in March Madness because I feel like it's way more possible. I don't know what I don't know what the numbers are, but there's got to be like a pretty like crazy stat where it's like you've got a way bigger shot at having that type of upset in March Madness versus, college football. Like, you don't really ever see like when Georgia plays Furman in the first 3 weeks of the season when they're more gettable. Like, that's when they're more gettable, when it's earlier on in the season. Maybe they're trying to figure out who they are. You don't see those upsets as much as you do in college basketball and March Madness and stuff. Maybe I'll be proven. I hope I'm proven wrong.
Yeah, I
would love to see a 12 seed JMU or an 11 seed Tulane go on a run and make it to the Final Four. But realistically, Griff, there's no way in hell that either one of those teams keep it remotely close. I feel like we've got to make a change when it comes to that. I think because we're so new into the college football playoff space, they made it 4, they made it 12. Let's tweak some things here. Let's tweak some things. Do you think we should keep one group of 5 spot? Do you think we should let one Cinderella Make-A-Wish story in? I don't love it, but I know a lot of people are saying that's the college aspect of it. Where are you at with that?
I could see leaving one in, But I mean, I kind of want to be Scrooge McDuck here and just be like, you know what? I'm sorry. Notre Dame should have got in over you. If we're talking about that. It just sucks because, like you said, they're 21-point favorites. And then going back to the March Madness thing that you said, the March Madness factor is like there's just so much more volume. There's so many more lower seeds. You know what I mean? For the college football, we really only get JMU and Tulane. And realistically, this was a weird year where Tulane and JMU got in because, like, before the season started, we thought Clemson was going to be your ACC champion or Miami early on was going to be your ACC champion. And that would have eliminated probably JMU.
Yeah.
That would have eliminated JMU. But they have it in the bylaws. You know what I mean? You got to go by the bylaws.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like maybe we can add like a tweak where it's like, hey, unless you have Ashton Genty, you're like a Heisman Trophy finalist, then you can get an opportunity. Because like Boise State had a legitimate shot. Like they were decent. And I want to say they had like a pretty good non-conference game earlier on in the season. I can't remember 100%.
Yeah, I want to say they lost to Oregon by like a touchdown, early on in that year.
Like they showed something. There should be like some sort of caveat where it's like, hey, unless you've got like a guy that's going to be like a first-round draft pick or maybe a Heisman contender, or you do something really impressive in your non-conference, that's the way you can get into the playoff. But realistically, JMU and Tulane, they've done nothing this year. It's simply because of your point that it's in the rule book. So we've got to abide by the rule book, but it's like, man, you're losing out on a Notre Dame team that, hey, would not only bring better football, but because of the brand that they have, it would bring way more revenue to the college football. Would bring way more revenue to the college football space. Texas, Vanderbilt, better football, more money. I get it. I know that, that's the college aspect. I think something's got to be tweaked. I personally hate it, but that's where we're at. Texas. Griff, a lot of people were coming after me about Texas, and we talked a little bit about it off camera, and we're like, well, let's save some of it for the podcast. I was very passionate about it, and a lot of people were like, dude, like, you don't know what you're talking about. They have 3 losses. And the way I looked at it, you can tell me if I'm on crack, but when I looked at Texas, even though they had 3 losses, a lot of teams don't play tough non-conference schedules. And that's one of the things that drives me the most nuts about college football. When you look at a Georgia, when they're playing, Furman and Charlotte, whatever it may be, Alabama, like they're playing nobody good. Texas took the opportunity in week 1, playing the reigning defending champs in Columbus, outgained them by 200 yards and lost by a touchdown. Then they lose to Georgia later on in the season. And newsflash, that is, your 2 and 3 seeds in the college football playoffs. So they have 3 losses. 2 of them are against the number 2 and number 3 seed. 1 bad loss to Florida, but it's in the SEC. You can lose on any given Saturday. Playing in the Swamp is no easy challenge. They have 3 top 10 wins. This is a really good football team that, in my opinion, was peaking at the right time. They just beat Texas A&M, who was number 3 almost all year long. I feel like Texas, if the committee's really trying to get the 12 best teams in there, I think Texas is one of the 12 best teams in the country. What are your thoughts on that? Am I on crack?
No, you're not on crack. You have a valid point. It's just early on in the season, Manning didn't look good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were winning the games, but he just didn't look good. And I agree. You got Alabama before rivalry week. They're playing La Tech, and Georgia's playing Kennesaw State Southern. You know what I mean? They're beating the brakes off these teams. Yeah. And I heard the Texas coach say, he's like, well, now you're just you're just basically saying, we don't schedule Ohio State. Yeah. Don't schedule that stuff. And it just sucks. But the 3 losses. And like I said in the beginning of the pod, like I didn't think that at 12 we needed to move it to 16. But I mean, it's crazy in a year where if Texas got in, maybe they made moves in Vandy, Notre Dame. But no, I think Texas, that middle half of the season when Manning didn't play that well, I feel like that they faulted them a little bit right there. But like you said, Ohio State lost. Ohio State's really good. Georgia, they're one of the best teams in the country. Yeah. And then they lost to Florida, right? Yeah. Florida, it did stink. But I mean, if you nitpick around, Alabama lost to Florida State in week 1 and they stink. Yeah. Florida State. So it just stinks because the tops, like the Oklahomas and the Ole Misses, they have 1 loss, right? Or maybe Oklahoma has 2
They both
losses.
have 2 losses.
Okay. So 2 losses.
Or Ole Miss, I believe, has 1.
Yeah. So
Oklahoma's 2.
Yeah. So if they... No, it's tough. Maybe they need to move to 16. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think, first of all, as fans and people that like to talk about it, we're the ones that are getting screwed because of the fact that people are going to stop scheduling tough non-conferences
For sure,
because this
100%.
is the precedent that the committee's setting. It's like, hey, if you're Georgia, if you're Oklahoma, if you're Alabama, no worries. Schedule 4 cupcake games. Win in the SEC. As long as you go 6-2 in the SEC, you're perfect. 2 losses is all, Griff. That's all you need to get into the playoff. That's your only requirement. But if you lose in your non-conference against Ohio State on the road, sorry, you're out.
Yeah,
and it's like, that's insane to me. And I understand the 3 losses, what turns people off, and everyone's like, Florida this, Florida that. I get it. They've got 2 great losses. They've got 3 unbelievable wins. They've been peaking at the right time. And I think we are going to get screwed because it sets a terrible precedent. Like, hey, don't schedule tough non-conference games. What do you think about this? I'm almost like in the camp of, hey, if you're going to schedule a tough non-conference game like that, give it the same weight as losing in the conference championship, because of the fact that the committee will say, hey, we're not going to dock you if you lose in the conference championship. A lot of people felt that Notre Dame should have been over Alabama, but because it was the conference championship, they didn't fall out. I feel like let's keep that same logic if you're going to go into Columbus and play the reigning defending champs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And especially because that was such a big game.
Yeah.
Week 1, you know what I mean? All eyes were on that. Or it was week 1. I mean, you have week 0 as well.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. If we could hold it up to that higher standard, but I know what the non-Texas fans are going to come back and say. They're going to say, don't lose to Florida.
Yeah.
And that was a bad loss. And that definitely was a bad loss. But I mean, if they would have beaten Florida, like, how do you think it would have switched out? You know what I mean? Them beating A&M at the end of the year, I feel like they would have had to been in. They would have probably been 100%. In over Alabama. Maybe they throw out Alabama. So no, I know we're in the what if game chat, but I mean, hey, it's talking about next year's scheduling factors, and we're gonna see it. And like you said, the fans suffer.
Yeah. And I think what drives me the most nuts too is like people, that was what I was saying right when it happened. People are like, well, just don't lose to Florida. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, don't lose to Florida. Then don't schedule Ohio State. Because if you lose to Florida and you lose to Georgia, you're 10-2. You don't have that loss at the very beginning. Newsflash, Texas came into the year as the number 1 team in the country, even though Ohio State won it all. So guess what? The committee's not going to hurt them that much for 2 losses. Then they beat Texas A&M, to your point. If that's a 10-2 Texas team with 3 top 10 wins and you don't lose to Ohio State, Griff, they might have a first round bye.
They would have been in there because, like you said, if they didn't schedule Ohio State, they would have scheduled Troy or Coastal Carolina or one of those teams, and they would have beat the brakes off.
Yeah, for sure. So I was disappointed, and I know a lot of people are upset about it. I think Texas is a top 12 team in the country. Arch Manning is playing some really good football to close the season out. So kind of a bummer that we won't get to see them. But I think overall, there's a lot of stuff you can nitpick about. I feel like there's always stuff that you can nitpick about whenever the college football playoff bracket comes out. Let's dive into it a little bit here.
For sure.
We've got some massive games. I think we're both in agreement that JMU is going to get boat raced by Oregon.
It's gonna be over after the first quarter. They're gonna be competitive, I believe. I think they're gonna have a good game plan the first quarter. Then it's about halfway through the second quarter. Oregon's gonna be like, okay, let's wake up. You know what I mean? We're gonna beat this team, and I'm gonna say the score is probably gonna be a respectful 31-14, 31-17. But it could have been a thing where the Oregon really could have routed them.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's just no point to route them because, like, okay, let's just stay healthy or all this stuff. I say 31-17. What do you say in this game?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe and at 31-17, that's a cover, but by JMU, you know what I mean? But I mean, JMU's not there to cover; they want to win.
Yeah, according to ESPN, it's 21.5 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, 3 touchdowns. We are in the college football playoff. When you go to the NFL playoffs, you don't see 22-point spreads in the NFL ever. Obviously, I know we're talking about a completely different game, but it's like, dude, playoffs? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And what's different about the playoffs, when we talked a little bit earlier about Cincinnati, I was talking to a coworker of mine, and he brought up a good point that back in the day when Alabama played Cincinnati in the college football playoff, it was at a neutral site. This is at Oregon. So Oregon gets the home field advantage. So that's where I think those points added up. Listen, if they told Oregon, hey, listen, if you beat this team 75-10 and you get an automatic bid to the national championship, they would do it. But I think they take the dogs off the leash, you know what I mean? 38-17, 31-17.
I think because Dan Lanning is such a menace, I think they win this like 42-7.
Would not be shocked.
I think it is an absolute routing. We're going to talk a little bit about some sleepers here in a little bit. I think Oregon is an absolute sleeper right now that could make it to the national championship that not enough people are talking about. I love their path right now. I think Oregon comes out there with some serious vigor. I think they just absolutely dominate JMU. No surprise that we're both on Oregon here. We'll go to the other big blowout game before we dive in a little deeper on the other two. Tulane, Ole Miss, 17.5 point spread.
17.5 point spread. A lot of people don't know that Ole Miss played Tulane in the beginning of the year, or not the beginning, maybe the middle of the year, and I believe they routed them. I believe they absolutely routed them. Now, I will say out of the two dogs of 17 and 21 point spreads, Tulane has the better chance to pull off the upset, but it's just going to be interesting without Kiffin. How is Ole Miss going to look? I think they're gonna get by Tulane. But I think it's really going to show in the next round. Yeah. It's really going to show in the next round. I believe they play Georgia. It'll really show in the next round. But I think Ole Miss wins 40 to 20. You know what I mean? Maybe a 40 to 20 cover. Yeah. But again, like with these big covers, these guys might just be up by 17 points in the fourth quarter, and maybe Tulane backdoors. Maybe Tulane scores a late touchdown, and it wants more to them. Same thing with JMU and Oregon. And Ole Miss looks there and just like, we don't care if we won by 10 or 17. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, I think Oregon and Ole Miss win.
Yeah, I'm going to take Ole Miss 42 to 17. This is a really, really good offense. They've got everybody back. I think it's really underrated. Like, we're not talking about it enough, how Ole Miss basically gets this first round bye, but it's like a tune-up game almost, considering the fact that they're not going to have Lane Kiffin. I think this is really big for them to mentally figure out how they're going to play. Go get all your frustrations and anger out. Go get all of that emotion out. You don't want to play with emotion too much when you're in a game like this, because it can overcome you and you might be playing out of your normal structure. I think play with your hair on fire this game. Do what you've got to do. I like them to win big. I think they figure it out a little bit. They survive knowing the fact that they're in like this new uncharted territory right now, and you're trying to figure out how to survive without Lane Kiffin. I think they figure out how to do that against Tulane, and then against Georgia. I think we're going to have a really, really good one. All right, let's talk about, in my opinion, the game of the first round. Alabama, Oklahoma, Crimson Tide going on the road, trying to bounce back after the SEC championship. Oklahoma has been a team that, since they got Mateer back, they've been getting better offensively. I think there was a little bit of like, hey, his hand was still hurt. He was trying to get back as soon as he can, and he was ultimately able to get them back to a spot where they could make it into the playoff. Only 2 losses, one of the better defenses in college football. Who wins it and why?
Can get the coins out. Flip the coins. And when I say chat, my bad. When I say flip the coins, it's a 50-50 game. Give me Oklahoma because they're at home. But Caden, Alabama does not look good. They do not look good. I mean, they got boat raced by Georgia. The week before that, they did not look good against Auburn, which is weird because they went up 17-0. And I thought, man, if Alabama takes this momentum in the SEC championship game, they could give Georgia a run. But then Auburn came all the way back, and it was a very, very close game. And if Auburn caught some passes, they would have won that game. I think Alabama is limping into this game. Now, I will say, I did watch LSU versus Oklahoma. I believe it was the last week of college football regular. They did not look good offensively. They looked bad. LSU didn't have their usual guys, and that was a barn burner of a game. Oklahoma's defense is absolutely phenomenal, but if they want to win this game, the offense has to step up. I think they do. I think it's going to be a gritty, close game. Give me Oklahoma by a field goal, but Alabama just doesn't look good right now.
No, they don't. I think both teams are in a really weird funk right now offensively. To your point, Oklahoma, it's kind of understandable why they've been in a little bit of a slump because of the fact that John Mateer had that injury. He was racing back as fast as he possibly could to play, and then he played in that in that Texas game, and at the 3 interception game, it was clear that he didn't look 100%. So when I view Oklahoma right now, to your point, it's like unbelievable defense, questionable offense. When I look at Alabama, good defense, offense that can be one of the best in the country, but I don't know what's been going on with them. I'm going to take Alabama. I'm going to take them to pull off a huge win. It got loud week 1 for Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide when they lost to Florida State. This was a team that won 9 games last year, didn't make it into the playoff, just missed out. I view Alabama as a team that has a lot to play for, and I understand both teams have a lot to play for, but I think Alabama is going to be a team with a lot of revenge on their mind. Ryan Williams has been one of the weirder stories in college football over the last few weeks. I don't know what's been going on with him. He hasn't been getting involved in the offense, but they've got a terrific trio of wide receivers with Bernard, Horton, Williams. If this team can figure it out, and I think if they get Jam Miller back healthy, their running back who wasn't in the SEC championship, they had both of their top 2 running backs out. I think Alabama is a really, really good team offensively. These two teams played earlier in the year. Oklahoma got the better of Alabama late in the second half. I like Alabama to get their revenge, to get their lick back, and I think they move on. I think we can both agree that that's probably going to be the best game of that first round.
It'll be a good, yeah. Miami, Texas A&M.
Well, that's our next one.
Yeah,
here.
That's a good game too. That's a good
great
game
one. Miami, they sneak in over Notre Dame. A lot of people are going to be happy in Florida. A lot of people are going to be happy in Florida to see Miami in the playoff. Texas Tech, another team that lost the last week of the season, but it is looking for a big time bounce back. Where are you at with this game? I think it's going to be a great one.
I think it's going to be an absolute barn burner. I will say, out of the home teams, I don't think weather is going to be a big factor. I mean, we're in December, right? Mm-hmm. We're in December. No snow games. If you look at Texas A&M, that's not going to snow. Oklahoma, not going to snow. What are the other home games?
We're looking at a beautiful Mississippi.
Oregon, yeah, Mississippi, probably not going to snow. It's still going to be cold, but I mean, it's not going to snow. Oregon, going to be cold, maybe wet. But again, it's not going to snow. This is going to be a great game. I think Carson Beck, he plays okay, but just give me Texas A&M to have a bounce back after losing to Texas. They got embarrassed last week, or in their last game, and all week it was, little brother this, little brother this, little brother this. Miami is a good team. I'm not saying that they have no shot in this game, but I, again, think this is going to be a great game. But give me the home team by a field goal right here, Texas A&M.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've kind of become like the weather guy on the show.
Yeah.
Whether we're looking at NFL games and whatnot. Right now, as we record this on Wednesday, December 10th, it is looking like a beautiful 68-degree day in College Station, where Texas A&M will be hosting Miami. That's perfect for Miami because they obviously play with some great weather. This is a really interesting game for me. It's, to your point, you get the coins out. I know it's a 3.5 point spread right now for A&M. I think this is a really close one. Both teams, I could totally see winning. I'm going to go Texas A&M. I lean Texas A&M because the fact that I think Marcel Reed, if he can get that running game going with his legs and that defense can kind of take control, I think this is one of the most complete teams in the country. The only thing I question is if he has to get into a drop back game where he's throwing the ball 30 times. That's the only thing I question. They've got to be on schedule. They've got to run the ball at a high level. He's got to be dynamic with his legs. But if he can reduce those interception numbers, I think Texas A&M is a team that, we keep talking about, and I'm Mr. Optimistic, but I could see them making a run as well. But it's when he's had to drop back 30 times, he gets in trouble. He throws some interceptions. He's got to limit those numbers. Ruben Bain for Miami is going to be one of the top picks in the draft. He's a guy that can absolutely take this over. So that's a great matchup to watch. But I like Texas A&M to squeak this one out. We're on pretty much the same side for all of it, except for Alabama, Oklahoma. That's going to be a tremendous game. Griff, let's talk about a long shot here. If you had to pick one team that is playing in the first round, none of the A&M, the Texas Techs, the Indianas, the Georgias, Ohio States. Give me one team that you would not be shocked if you woke up in January and said, well, Grandma, good thing I placed a future on Tulane.
Texas A&M. I have to say, I know it's not the pretty dog, but I mean, it's that middle road dog. You know what I mean? Texas A&M, to me, the defense is good, the offense is good. They did lose to Texas, but if you're talking about out of the top 4, who would I think? And it kind of sucks because Texas A&M is not really a big dog, but I just don't see those other teams even making it a path. I mean, even Texas A&M, it'd be a tough one. But I will say Texas A&M has a harder route, definitely, than a Oregon. You know what I mean? Because I feel like you might be on that Oregon path.
Yeah, I'm on the Oregon path. When you look at A&M real quick here, it's like that side of the bracket is so brutal. Miami's a tough first-round matchup, whereas Oregon, who I'm going to pick, plays JMU, obviously completely different spreads, but then you've got to go through Ohio State, you've got to go through Georgia, then you're in the national championship. Me and you could probably both agree that I think Texas, if there's any 4 of those top four teams, if there's any one of those top four teams, Texas Tech is probably the gettable one. That's probably the one you look at and you're like, let's hope we can get them in the second round.
Let's play them.
And I think Oregon, after last year, I think they got kind of screwed because they were the number one seed in the tournament.
They were the number one seed, and they were waiting on Ohio State and Tennessee.
Brutal.
Yeah.
They had a horrible route, and they also had like Texas waiting in the wing too, who we all understood they were a great team, great defense. But man, Oregon, I think they kind of got blessed now in the other direction where it's like, dude, I could totally see them in the Final Four. They can beat Indiana. Ooh. I think they played them earlier in the year and they got close. And I know they were at home. I think this Oregon team can make it to the national championship. That's my hot take of the entire bracket. I like Oregon to make the national championship. You got any flame? Give us your championship matchup right now.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I don't have any hot takes.
Really?
I think Indiana plays Ohio State in the national championship. I know it's boring, but I will say I think Indiana has an easier path than Ohio State because that Big Ten championship win was so important because now Indiana has to play Oregon in the semi or Texas Tech in the semi. Ohio State has to play Georgia. Yeah. And Georgia is one of the best teams in the country. If Georgia won this national championship, I would not be shocked at all, Caden. And to say Ohio State, okay, now you got to beat Georgia. That's a national championship game in itself.
Yeah.
Then you got to go and play Indiana. That's tough on them. I think Indiana wins this whole thing. They beating Ohio State. They opened up my mind, and I was like, I am all bought in. That Mendoza interview, never heard that dude talk before. That dude was electrifying. People were calling him a cornball, but hey,
I loved it.
Hey, cornballs can be cool too, man. Cornballs can be too.
Yeah.
That dude probably grew up in Iowa on a farm for this entire life. You know what I mean? Dreamed about this. No, I love Mendoza. He made a believer out of me, and I love watching sports because sports does that to people. Yeah. People see athletes play, and then it's like, man, that guy plays good. But I mean, there's something about him, and then they hop on an interview, and then they're like, okay, I'm all bought in on this team. So Mendoza made a believer out of the Guru. The Guru is a Mendoza fan now. He is definitely a Mendoza fan. It could work on the opposite side too. You can get in on an interview and look like a total douche, and I'll be like, okay, F you. That was a douche move, but Mendoza's
Justin Herbert on Monday night. Maybe the block was getting hot on that.
Yeah, we might get to that. But I mean, no, Mendoza's interview to me, like I said, people said it was corny, but I mean, hey, to me, I loved it when he said the Hoosiers are flipping champs. Yeah. The Hoosiers, Indiana, in our lifetimes, they stink. Yeah. You know what I mean? To say that they're Big Ten champs and not like, oh, they're Big Ten champs and Ohio State sucks and Michigan sucks. No, Ohio State was the number one team in the country. I love Mendoza now. He made a believer out of me. Shout out Mendoza.
Heis Mendoza?
Heis Mendoza.
I like it.
I love it.
I appreciate you for going out on a limb and taking Indiana. I agree with you. I'm in total agreement. I watched that post-game interview and I had like a smile on my face. Like it's rare when I like find myself like watching something and all of a sudden I'm like have like a smile on my face. Like maybe I watch like a cool like TikTok video and it's like that like MD motivator guy who like blesses like a homeless person and takes him to a game and they like meet Dak Prescott or something. It's like that was one of those moments for me where it's like I'm just like smiling out. You ever seen the Daniel Cormier meme?
Oh,
where it's
the
like,
DC. Yeah,
where he's like smiling at his phone, like nodding his head, like gift. That was me watching the Fernando Mendoza interview. I was like, you know, man, I like this guy.
Yeah, this guy made a fan. He made a fan.
He did it. And you know, I think it was so classy. I think it was such a cool interview. And after saying all that, I hate to be the guy where it's like, Fernando, I'm sorry, brother. You're awesome. You're so fun to watch. You're going to win the Heisman Trophy. Probably going to be the number one overall pick, if I had to guess. I think Oregon gets to the championship. Do I want to have my Big Ten bias cap on? Oh my gosh, it's so brutal. I think Ohio State bounces back in a big time way.
Would not be shocked.
I think they win the national championship.
Would not be shocked.
It's so tough because Matt Patricia truly is like such a brilliant defensive coordinator, and what he's done this year for Ohio State, they've been a world beater, and I think Ohio State shot themselves in the foot 15 different times in the Big Ten championship. I think they're going to be a lot better. Their toughest matchup is going to be, can they beat Georgia? I think they're going to be able to. And I like Ohio State to go back to back, and Ryan Day completes kind of this dynasty that he's been building over the last 2 years. But I think we're in store for a great college football playoff regardless. I think it's going to be a lot better than it was last year. Last year, the national championship wasn't great. Ohio State just curb stomped
Almost
Notre
everyone.
Dame. Yeah, almost everyone, but Notre Dame in the national championship, I think it was an absolute curb stomping. I think regardless, no matter how you cut the cake, I think we're in store for a great college football playoff as a whole. We've got some great storylines. We've got some great teams. It's going to be so fun to watch. Any final notes for us before we kind of get into our playoff bracket here?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, Indiana created, I feel like, this great playoff because they proven to the world that Ohio State's not this big bad monster. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Ohio State can't go back and beat Indiana, but like I said, if Ohio State boat raced Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, we'd be both sitting here and be like, okay, Ohio State's just going to walk through everyone. But now it's open. Georgia, Ohio State, Indiana. Could Oregon get in there? Can Texas Tech ride it out? I think we're in form for a great college football playoff.
Yeah, that's a great point. When I look at this playoff bracket, it's not like it was last year where it's like you're maybe looking at one or two teams realistically that are just going to dominate everyone. And I think when I was viewing it before Championship Saturday, I felt that it was Georgia and that it was Ohio State that realistically were going to go on a run and that probably we're going to win the national championship. Indiana opened my eyes, and I can sit here and say they made a believer out of me, like we just talked about. But how the heck were they able to do this in 2 years? As you could see by the hat, diehard, lifelong Nebraska fan, and I have been waiting I'm 21 years old. I've been waiting my entire life for them to turn it around, and I get bought into it every single year. And Indiana in 2 years goes from all the way down here to potentially winning a national championship. They won the Big Ten. They won the Big Ten championship. They beat Ohio State.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing on the switch up. I mean, but Signetti factor. You know, he got on the comms and he said like, "Hey, if you don't know me, Google me." And I was like, "Who the f- is this guy? Like, who the hell does this guy think he is?" You know what I mean? He's going into the Big Ten conference with Indiana. He's not going in the Big Ten conference coaching Michigan or Penn State or Ohio State, the big dogs. No, it was Indiana, and he looked us dead in the eyes and said, "We're coming." And I was like, "Oh, whatever." Indiana's here, and he's done an amazing job.
Yeah, he has done an amazing job, and it's such a different vibe from that team. Last year, it was like, hey, here's the Cinderella team out of the Big Ten. Now, no, they might be the favorite. Yeah. They might be the favorite to win it all, and that's the beauty of college sports, where you don't often see it in the NBA or in the NFL, where a team is all the way at the bottom and they have a chance to win the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals. This is the beauty of college sports and the new landscape that we're looking at now with the NIL and with guys hopping in the transfer portal and stuff. But I'll give Signetti all the credit in the world for going out and finding Fernando Mendoza. He's only been there for less than a year.
Yeah, like I said, last year he was on a field picking corn. You know what I mean? Who the hell is this guy Mendoza? You know what I mean? And now he's Heisman. Now he's the Heisman man.
Yeah, I mean he was just smiling, picking corn all of a sudden. He's just got a big smile on his face. And you know what? I'm fired up. I'm fired up for this entire college football playoff. I think we've got a great one in store. Griff, this is an amazing first pod. This was so fun.
Yes.
We're going to have a ton of college football content coming out during the entire college football playoff. We've got a ton of NFL stuff coming up, so make sure you guys stay tuned. My name is Caden Kubler from Caden's Corner. Griff, Guru Griff, the man, the myth, the legend. This was an absolute blast, and we will see you guys for episode 2 for our NFL Week 14 breakdown.
It was great to be here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what I mean? We got to throw that in there.
Yes,
you know what I mean? We got to throw that in there. Beautiful things coming on our end.
Yes, sir. That's why I got my sidekick right here.
Yep.
We'll see you guys later.